Hi again, so it's Kirsten. This is the second part of my assignment. So with the international relations, we had to do the continuity and change of the relationship and then also the historical significance. So I picked a couple events to especially highlight the significance of our relationship with the States, which is what I'm doing. So if you want to go and watch the first video, I'll put a link below on this video. They're kind of sort of connected, obviously, because everything in history kind of is, but you don't need to watch one to get the other. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So Canada and the US share one of the most economically successful international relationships. Not only does this relation benefit us economically, but it also has a great significance involving our military units as well as involving our culture. So one of the most historically significant events involving the relationship between Canada and the US was the War of 1812. No surprise there. So obviously this was a major chapter in both countries' histories. So America declared war against Canada, which was still a British colony at the time. To simplify things here, I'll refer to the British colony as Canada. So the war went on for 3 years, but it was finally ended with the creation of the Treaty of Ghent, along with some other agreements. This event affected every citizen of the US and Canada as well as the British colonies. The effects on the war have definitely played a huge role in the shaping of the two countries that now make up North America. Although many lives were lost and many were injured, the war still had a really positive outcome. So the war settled the ongoing border dispute, and because the border had stayed the same, both countries walked away with a friendly and peaceful relationship. It's tough to imagine what Canada would have been like without this war. I personally think that we would still be part of Britain, and our relationship with the US wouldn't be nearly as strong or as peaceful. This would have affected our economy, as America is actually our largest trade partner. As bad as war does sound, without this war, our history would have had been totally rewritten. So economically, the relationship we share with the States is extremely important. They're our largest trading partner, and together we share a strong, mutually beneficial relationship with them. The Canadian economy has become very dependent on the smooth trade flows through the United States. Our relationships with the US is very important to our economy because they are our largest trade partner, and without them, our economy would definitely suffer. So one event that was historically significant was the 10% tax raise, which doesn't sound like a lot, 10%, right? That the Americans made for Canadian imports. So this put Canadian and Americans' relationships in jeopardy, as without our main trade resource, being with the US, our economy was due to suffer. So the problem was fixed when the United States Free Trade Agreement was created, which prevented further tariffs. So without President Nixon's decision to end the special relationship between Canada and the US, this agreement may never have been made, and the trades that the US and Canada, I'm assumed, would have continued to have would have been more complicated and probably not nearly as successful or beneficial for us, and eventually the States. So definitely that event, as small as the 10% tax increase sounds, it was a huge difference, and it affected so many people across Canada and the States. So another event involving the military was World War I. World War II. World War II was a significant event in almost every country's history, obviously. So this war actually had a big impact on our relationship with, surprisingly, the States. So since the War of 1812, we haven't been at war against the States. We haven't declared war against the States or anything like that. But with this being said, we haven't really been their ally either. Not yet. So that was true until World War II, when Canada and the US had their first military collaboration. Although the two countries did work well together during World War I, the Second World War was the first time where we really united to fight against the same cause. So this trend then continued into the Cold War. And since the first collaboration we have became extremely close we've become extremely close allies with the States, and this has had a great impact on our military status. So World War II was a truly horrible event, but without it, Canada and the US may never have collaborated, which improved their relationship substantially. And it's difficult to imagine how different it would have been if we had not had that initial collaboration. So, as you can see, there's been very many historically significant events. I've just touched on a few here, but For instance, the 9/11 bombing, very significant not only in US history but Canadian history. Canadians donated a ton. We donated more blood per capita as well as more funds per capita during the 9/11 attack than Americans did. That was very historically significant. Also, our disagreement with the war in Iraq, the status of Cuba, the Vietnam War, all of these were very significant in our history, but not only the disagreements, the agreements that we had too. Any time that we've worked together with the states would have some significance on our history, and pretty much every day there's something significant going on with immigration, anything like that, trades. So our relationship with the states is extremely significant, and in my opinion, it's the most important international relationship we have with anyone. Without it, our economy would suffer, our military base would suffer, our politics would change, and I'm sure our culture would have been a lot different. So it's just kind of cool to think about all of this stuff and how one significant event can change the whole course of history.